Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.
Oh my gosh, it's people helping people!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of People Helping People. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody that's been coming back. And as you can see, we are at a new location today. This is another first for People Helping People, and I'm excited to be doing more stuff like this. We have an amazing guest today. Not only is he a supporter of People Helping People, but we are a proud representative of Jake Wilson and T-Town Boxing. Brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Yes, sir.
Glad you guys made it in.
Yeah, and you know, it seems as though you and I, we keep breaking new ground with what we're doing here with the podcast world. The first time that we shot together, we had you over to my place and we did our first pre-recorded episode.
That's right.
And we sat down, we had an incredible conversation, and I was just learning things. We're just getting the gears turning. We're figuring out all the equipment. And he takes off and we're all amped about the show. And I go back and I listen to it. And the whole thing was recorded on my MacBook microphone and not these bad boys.
Yeah.
So
A little muffled.
yeah.
So it turned out good, though.
Yeah,
it was a good one, man.
Yeah, it was a great conversation, man. But I thank you for coming back to the show.
Oh, anytime, man.
And we are here in the heart of T-Town Boxing.
We are in T-Town.
Yes, sir.
Right behind us.
Yeah, this is it.
Training
So
going on right now.
yes, and I've had blood, sweat, and tears shed here. This is an amazing place. And I'm just excited to be bringing some new style of content to you guys. New places, new faces, business owners, musicians, artists alike. And I'm really happy to be here. So thank you for having us.
Oh, of course.
And yeah, I want to get into some things, man, because I feel like the first show we touched on so much about, you know, what boxing means to you. And being that we had such terrible audio quality, I kind of want to dive back into that and have you uncover where you found boxing and how it changed your life.
Yeah. Well, I think boxing found me, first off.
Ooh.
You know, I don't know what my infatuation was with the sport at such a young age. But, you know, I was a young kid, 5, 6 years old, and I wasn't watching cartoons, man. I was watching like VHS tapes of fighters from the 1920s. You know, I was just that type of kid, man. I was like a real, like, you know, just, I guess, connoisseur of the sport. Like, I want to learn all the different styles. I want to learn, you know, what makes people tick, what makes these fighters, you know, motivated.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just the aspect of boxing, you know, if any man can do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, there was a guy named Jack Dempsey, one of the most popular athletes of his time. Started off as a hobo, so he was traveling on trains, right? And he would go from Colorado to Arizona, New Mexico, traveling on a train, right?
Wow.
Homeless. He ended up being the biggest sports star of his era. He was actually bigger than Babe Ruth of his time. So he had a haircut that everybody copied. You know, all the women liked him, all the men wanted to be him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
legendary.
But he was homeless when he started. You know what I mean? And that's boxing. You know, so it's the type of sport where, you know, you really can live out the American dream. You can go from the bottom of the barrel to the top of the world. You know what I mean? And that's just something about boxing I've always loved.
I love that, man. That's really cool. And so you are infatuated with boxing at a very young age.
Yep.
And then when did that change as far as you getting involved in the sport?
So I actually had a lot of boxing in my family. So I had a really close family friend that was a professional boxer. And he moved to Vegas when I was really young. And I always looked up to him. I was like, man, this is cool. He's living in Vegas. He's a boxer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just that was something to look up to at that young age.
Yeah.
My uncle was really into boxing. He had some boxing experience. And we used to get in the living room. He'd get on his knees and we just spar. You know what I mean? And I was like 5 years old. But he knew enough about the sport to teach me the proper fundamentals. So I had a understanding of fundamentals of boxing at a pretty young age, 5 or 6 years old.
Nice.
But I first walked into a boxing gym in 1993, and I can't remember if I was 8 or 9 years old. But I remember when I walked in, I was just so excited to be in that environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To see the boxing ring, to see the bags, everything. It was just like a dream come true.
Yeah.
And it was called Hard Knocks. And it was a guy named Kip Triplett was a professional boxer in our hometown. And he was kind of like a local legend, you know what I mean? So to train under him was an honor, and we had a great team, you know, and I walked in there and I boxed there pretty much, you know, from the age of 9 years old up through middle school to about 13 years old.
Wow. That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And that's really something special too. Like, I have never found anything besides music that I've always kind of done in the background, right? But I've never found something physical that is consistent in being able to develop and learn like boxing. So to be able to find something like that at such a young age, I think is really important. And I think that's a beautiful segue too, because here at T-Town Boxing, you guys are training people of all ages, correct?
Yeah, we train little kids, 5 years old. Train people, you know, in their 70s. You know, it doesn't matter. All ages, it's all inclusive, man.
And that's one thing that I noticed too when I walked into the gym. And like you, it's a bit nerve wracking because I did always tell my, you know, in high school we used to throw the gloves on and fucking duke it out. Like that was just what it was, right? And it was a good time. And I after that always considered, I'm like, man, I got to get into a gym. Like that would be so much fun.
Right.
But that was 2 decades of me saying that.
Yeah.
Until finally Kayla was like, hey, you want to box? And I'm like, no way. Did you just ask me that? Like I needed that little push of somebody else to be like, let's go fail together. Right. And learn something new as a unit. And so we did. And we came into the gym and I realized that, like you said, it's everybody from 5-year-olds on up to, you know, older people that they're kicking ass and having fun and learning a new skill. And I learned immediately how little I know and that there's never any such thing as mastering the sport.
Right.
It's really a lifelong endeavor.
Yeah, I'm still learning, you know, and I started in 1993. So doing it a little while.
Yeah.
And it's funny you brought that up with that little push because I have so many people tell me, you know, it's like, I've been wanting to do this for so long, and I'm so glad I finally came in because when people come in, they realize it's really not as scary as they thought.
Yeah.
You're not coming in here getting hit, nothing like that.
Yeah.
You're learning the techniques, and when people come in, they just fall in love with it, and it becomes like an addiction, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, come in, don't know what to expect, and then they start learning the technique a little bit, and it's like their thing now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like now boxing is their thing, and I love seeing that because for me, you know, it's always been my thing. You know, I was lucky to find it at a young age. But it also helped me through a lot of like troubles in my life. You know what I mean? You know, just overcoming addiction, alcoholism, all that kind of thing. You know, if I didn't have boxing there for me through a lot of these dark times, like I don't know where I would be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good point because to have something to go to where it's a safe space and for a man, I guess women too, right? Like there's that internal thing that you need to get out. And whether you find that in other forms of exercise or whatever, I found that boxing is a different type of energy exertion than I'd ever felt before.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, I am so exhausted in such an amazing way because I push myself. And you don't have to do that. And that's the thing is like you can take it at your own pace. But for me, it was like, okay, all these things are stacking up in my life. Let me get it out.
Yeah.
And it was a great place
100%.
to do it.
Yep.
And, you know, I want to advocate for anybody that's out there that maybe even slightly considering going into a gym, finding a place like T-Town Boxing, walking in and having that aha moment, like you said, because it's like walking into a movie, like a Rocky movie, right? You hear the speed bags going and people are hitting pads, and it's really something special. And you know, I have to give you your flowers because not only did I join the classes, but then we started doing some PTs, and that was a whole different ball game. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit. You know, if people are coming into classes versus doing the personal training sessions, can you kind of break down the difference of the two of those?
Yeah. So, you know, the classes they're boxing fitness classes, right? So you're learning the skills of boxing. You're getting a great boxing workout, which is one of the best workouts there is, right? But with personal training,
or trains back.
Sorry, there's a train going by right now. Yeah. But, you know, the personal training is different because I'm going to dive deep into that technique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I got time with you now. It's just me and you, and we're going to work from the ground up. You know, that's how you start boxing. It's stance, footwork, how to step correctly. You know, you're learning how to re-walk almost. You know what I mean? A lot of people come in different sports and you know, they have no idea how to do it. They're too wide with their feet and stuff like that. So it takes a lot of time, but we're going to dive in deep to that technique and we're going to get it right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's personal training. You know, we're working slow. but you're going to see that really good improvement over time to where you're an actual boxer. You know what I mean? Any age, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Classes, you'll get there, but it's going to take a little bit longer. Right?
Sure.
So the classes, we focus on technique, but we also want to make sure everybody's getting a great workout.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in, they want to get the workout aspect of it.
Oh, and
okay too.
You do get that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of core, but I like what you said there because it's the rewiring of the brain.
Yeah.
And that was such it was tough for me to understand. Like, I'm in my mid 30s. And so I'm thinking, to learn a new skill, okay, I've boxed and, it's something that I think that I could take on.
Yeah.
But the beauty of what you're talking about was realizing that it is a whole dance. I mean, everything from your feet all the way up to the top of your head, there is this rewiring, as you said, of figuring out how to make these things work in conjunction. And I fell in love with it because, like I said before, it's a lifelong endeavor. And it felt like the more that I learned, the less that I knew.
Right.
And the more I got to be around the people that knew what they were doing, it was like I'm now picking things apart and I'm seeing the sport through a different lens, which was really cool.
And how cool is that too, to be, in a gym where you have beginners in there with professional boxers.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see the end result of that work, what I mean? And that's so motivating. And the cool thing about our gym is because we are a smaller gym and it's very close knit, it's like a family. You might have somebody like Solomon who's 11-0 as a professional, helping you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have one of our females that's the national champion, helping you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way we are. We want everybody to be included in what we have going here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of gyms you go to, like, it's not like that. You'll see a lot of gyms, they only pay attention to the people that are talented or they think has a future in competition. Here, it's everybody's going to get the same attention.
Yeah. Yeah. I really felt that while I was here.
Yeah.
And, like you said, there's athletes here that have been underneath your wing that you have trained that have some real accolades. So you're not just, I think that just there's so many people in the world that could come in off the streets and teach people a class, right? I mean, they need to know some things here and there, but you're somebody who really breaks down technique and you know what you're doing because you've done it for decades. And you've trained some incredible boxers. And I want to dive into that because recently you just got back. You took a flight. You took a trip out to a fight that one of your fighters had. Tell me a little bit about that experience and what had happened. And if you could break that down for me.
Yeah. So, Solomon just fought last weekend, won by second round knockout.
Hold on.
Oh, nice.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
Shout out Solomon.
Shout out Solomon. It was probably the hardest training camp I've ever had. Solomon had gone down to Colombia and won a fight, but he had a fractured orbital. So, we're going through training camp and he can't spar, which anybody that knows boxing knows that's probably the most important aspect of boxing, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to, adjust, do everything I can as a trainer to prepare him properly for this fight. You know what I mean? And it's hard when you can't spar because that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to get creative and try new things out, and we're doing the best we can. I'm going through some personal stuff. I had a loss in my family. So,
sorry about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, I'm trying to, stay motivated while dealing with some stuff on the side that's, taking up a lot of space in my mind, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
So, we get prepared. We're going to our fight. We're 3 days out. Get a text. Opponent pulls out of the fight.
Oh.
Right. So, and one of the things that was interesting about this camp was like everything was geared towards our opponent, right? Because we can't spar. So I'm like, we're going to be extra prepared for this guy.
Oh, that's
what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole time we're working on this one guy's, this is what we're going to do against this guy.
And his left hook is great or his footwork is great.
Yep.
And so you're manipulating and working towards whatever it is to counteract
That's
that.
it. That's it, man. So 3 days before, boom, opponent's out, right? So we get a new opponent. Don't know much about him. Do the best I can. I get a little bit of film on him. So, we get a quick little study in.
Yeah.
Go out to Sioux City, and luckily, everything kind of went smooth on the way out there. It was actually a day when there was, I think, 3,000 delayed flights last weekend.
Oh, whoa.
So everything was delayed. My flight was delayed by a half hour, but it wasn't enough to affect anything.
Yeah.
One thing that did happen to me, though, it's kind of funny. I thought my flight was leaving at 8 a.m., right? I just had so much going on in my life. I was like, 8 a.m., in my head, that's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I'll get up at 5 a.m., get a jump on my day, get an early start. Get up at 5 a.m. My alarm goes off. I see a notification. My flight's leaving at 6:30. So I'm like, oh shit. So I wasn't even packed or anything. I'm just throwing stuff in my bag. I'm just out, right? No shower, nothing. I'm just get out.
Great way to start the trip.
Right. So the whole first day of the trip, I'm in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
And I got a layover in Houston. That's delayed a half hour. I get out to Sioux City. I got to make it to the weigh-ins by 5 p.m., right?
Woof.
I have to drive an hour and a half from Omaha to Sioux City. I get there with, I think, exactly an hour and a half. So I'm flying down the highway in like Nebraska or where the hell it was, right? Yeah. I barely get there on time. So everything ended up working out, but I was in a hurry all day.
Yeah.
So it was a rough go there.
Yeah. Good way to
Luckily,
start.
I'm training Solomon, who's like consummate professional. You know what I mean? This guy's like, just something about him. He always shows up at his best when the lights are on. You know what I mean? So he makes me look good in that.
Top tier athlete.
Yeah, top tier athlete for sure. He goes out there, second round, handles business. Boom, everything's good now. You know what I mean? So
again, that's for you, Solomon.
yes, sir.
Well done, and for you as well, for the team. People don't realize how much of a team sport it is.
It is, man. You got to have good sparring partners. You got to have, a trainer that knows what he's doing. The relationship between the fighter and trainer is very important. You know what I mean? If you don't have a good bond, and everybody's different, but you got to have a good bond with your trainer. You got to trust your fighter, and the fighter has to trust you.
Yep.
Because when you go in that corner, the trainer is all you got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's a dangerous place to be in that corner, in that ring. So, it's everything, and we're lucky to have a great team, not just, me and Solomon as a team, but we have a lot of good guys around the gym. Everybody's trying to help each other out. And when it's their turn to fight, Solomon does the same thing for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, everybody's helping everybody.
Yeah, dude, thanks for sharing that. And shout out Solomon again. That's amazing, man. Pulling off. I mean, it sounds like, you were so prepared for a specific thing. And I can't wait to have Solomon on here to discuss the feelings of getting prepared and having you guys focus on a single individual for so long,
right,
and catering your art form to defeating whomever that is.
Yeah.
3 days before, flip the script.
Yeah.
And you've been rewiring your brain the whole time,
right,
to fight a certain way. So I also want to talk a little bit about like that successful feeling of, because what is his record now?
He's 11-0.
Amazing. So I want to talk a little bit about the feeling of having your fighter in there. What is going through your head as you're watching? I mean, obviously you've been with him for a long time. And is it hyper focused on technique? Are you watching the other fighter more so? Or give me the perspective of a coach sitting on the sidelines.
That's a lot, man. So obviously you're building a fighter's fundamentals, right? They got to have all the boxes checked as far as like they can't have any flaws in their defense. They got to know footwork. They got to know how to throw the punches correctly. Yeah. So that takes years. We're spending years working on these fundamentals, right? Now let's say they get good enough to actually fight.
Yeah.
Now we got to start talking a little bit more about strategy.
Yeah.
Right. In the amateurs, you might not know who you're fighting. So I might not have the opportunity to see the opponent. So you got to be ready for every different style. You know what I mean? And that's the point of the amateurs, is really get you, if you want to be a professional, those amateur days, how many amateur fights you have, that prepares you for the professional level.
Whoa.
Because you might be fighting 3 times in a weekend, twice in a weekend if you're doing a tournament.
Damn.
Right? You have no idea who you're going to fight.
Yeah.
So just being able to go in there and fight whoever's there in front of you, that builds up a lot. You know what I mean? As a fighter, mentally and physically, being able to adapt mentally to maybe you have a southpaw, a lefty that you're fighting. You know what I mean? Now everything's backwards, right?
Yeah.
So you have to learn that stuff in the amateurs. Now we get to the pros, things change because now today's the day of film, right? So we have YouTube. If you have any professional fights, you're probably going to be either on social media or on YouTube.
Yeah.
So now we have film on you, right?
Yeah.
So now that's where I come in. That's where I'm probably at my best, is like I can sit there, I'm going to watch this guy's film, and I'm going to know every little detail. I know when he throws his jab, he's dropping his right hand. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. You know what I mean? So when we're in the gym, we're in training camp, we're applying this stuff that I picked up from film into the training camp. So when he gets in the fight, it's second nature. The jab comes, he's shooting the left hook. You know what I mean? So it's all strategy, and then the psychology of it, because fear is a big factor in boxing, right?
Sure.
So we got to be able to deal with that fear. So if you talk to fighters about fear and how to overcome fear, you're kind of speeding up the learning process. Because amateurs, a lot of that is dealing with fear, because you're going in there in front of a crowd. You're in the locker room, you're nervous, right?
Sure.
So you're learning how to overcome fear, because if you don't overcome that fear, you can go in there and everything's going to go blank when you're fighting. You know what I mean? But if you can learn how to teach, you can talk to these people about it. You're gonna speed up that learning process.
That's really well said. Yeah. And I can only imagine you were talking about with the amateurs, them having to just go and fight whomever with a crowd of people. There's a whole different mindset because there's no real preparation for an individual. You're just preparing yourself to be the best fighter that you can be,
Right.
whether somebody's southpaw, orthodox, they have a heavy right. You don't know.
Yep.
So I notice when I'm here at the gym and we're doing sparring sessions, it makes sense that you do rotation with all these different people. So if somebody does want to step into being an amateur and going into those, you've already fought a guy who's 40 pounds heavier than you, or a little taller, has more reach, and,
Yep.
and you're learning as you go.
Yep.
That's really interesting. I never really thought about that because
Styles make fights, they say in boxing. So, the best example of that most boxing people use is Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman. Okay. So Joe Frazier gave Muhammad Ali a lot of problems. In fact, he beat him, right? Beat him the first time they fought, dropped him. George Foreman knocked out Joe Frazier in the first round like he was nothing, right? But Ali beat George Foreman. So there is no boxing math, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about styles. Different styles are going to affect people differently.
Yeah.
And that's all what boxing is, So if you're in the gym and you're sparring and you have a lot of different styles, like you said, it's going to help you be able to adapt when you get into those fights in the amateurs.
Whoa.
So if you get that in the gym, that translates to amateurs.
Yeah.
Now, by the time you turn pro, you've seen everything. You know what I mean? And that's what you want. You want to get to the pros prepared.
Wow.
Because now you're a professional fighter. Now there's no more excuses, right? If
Yeah.
you lose, it affects your money. It affects your career.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, man. I mean, that totally makes sense. And it's just, I think that there's just so much to boxing as far as you're getting started. You have to find a good coach. I mean, I think that that's number one, right? And I'm so thankful that it took me so many years to step into a boxing gym because I came to the spot where you are, where Jake is training. And I don't just say that to say that. Like, we had a connection as brothers, and then you took so much time and noticed all the little things that I could improve on, whether it be, just putting my hands down or my footwork sloppy. And it's like all these little fine tunings that just were really impressive. And I just have to give you your flowers, man.
Thank you,
because
man. I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. And I appreciate and enjoy representing T-Town boxing as a whole because of the experience that I had. And you guys have had different iterations of T-Town boxing, right? So you guys have moved locations, and I guess I want to kind of pull back a little bit to where the inception of T-Town was and then how it's grown over the years.
Yeah. So, T-Town started, a couple of funny stories I can touch on while I'm doing this. So COVID happened, right? And I'm working at a different gym. Gym's closed down. First time it happens, I'm worried about this COVID. I don't know anything about COVID, right? So I'm like, I'm staying home, listening to what everybody's saying. And then gym opens back up. So everybody's excited to be back in the gym. Everybody's back in the gym, having fun, doing our thing. Closes down the second time. First time it happened, I was going crazy, man, sitting in my house, right? I'm moving all the time, so I have to be moving. So I'm like, I'm going to do something at the park. I'm going to, at Reed Park, I'm going to have people come out, train with me. We'll keep separation between everybody, Yeah. And I think it was only like maybe 3, maybe 5 people. It was a pretty small group that was training with me. And this is summertime in Tucson, so it's like 110 degrees outside. Yeah. We're going pretty early in the morning, right? Well, people will walk by and see us doing it, and they're like, I want to do this, whatever. People heard about it, saw it on social media, whatever. Yeah. Next thing you know, I got 25, 30 people coming out for these workouts, right? Damn. And I'm like, damn, this is, Tucson in the summertime at a park, right?
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's time to actually get a facility.
Yeah.
Because I've been talking about doing it a long time, but, as a father, I had that guaranteed paycheck and it was comfortable. And I was like, I'm scared to take that risk. You know what I mean? I really was. I was scared to take that risk. But when COVID happened, it gave me a little bit of freedom. It was like, you know what? I can do this because I know what I did just at a park, building that so quickly. If I get my own facility, I think I can make this work, you know? So, a little time went by. I had to go back working my other job, but I finally got everything worked out. And I was training with a buddy of mine, Joe Sennett, really nice guy. He's a great Olympic weightlifting coach. Oral Strength is called. So he was nice enough to let us share space with him. So we were actually in an Olympic lifting gym, right? And we're like tripping on weights. It was a little bit too cluttered. There was just a lot going on there. So we were there for a little bit, and I think it was maybe only like 2 months. And then we found a spot downtown. And we actually did a couple like test runs at that place, and all the employees that were working, it was kind of like a co-working space, right?
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of different businesses there, and they all came in and they wanted us to try it out, and we did a couple test runs, and it went really well. And Crystal, who was the owner, was like, "We'd love to have you come here," you know. So we ended up taking over that gym, and we were there for like I think 2 years, and it went really well, you know. Unfortunately, what happened was there was a restaurant that moved in right below where the gym was, and they had like chandeliers up and stuff. We had a boxing class going upstairs, so the chandeliers are shaking. You know, it didn't work out. So luckily, the property management we deal with is really good, and they actually helped us find another location, and that's where we're at now. And I love this spot.
Nice. Yeah, this is a great spot, man. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So while we're here, we do have a bunch of people that are leaving comments out here. So I just want to shout them out. Kayla Coffee, we see you out there. Thanks for joining us. Rich E says, good evening all, and hello. Rich,
what's up,
our
Rich?
guy, what's up? Welcome in. We appreciate you being a part of the chat, being a part of the stream. Let's see. He says, AJ, can you ask him about people with disabilities? He says, I have a bulging disc at L1 and L4 and have to take narcotics for pain. Is this something he would be able to work with?
Absolutely. Yeah, we work with all kinds of different situations.
Great question, by the way.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you,
is.
Rich, for jumping in the chat here.
Yeah, we'd sit down and we'd figure out, you know, what we're able to do, you know, what you're able to do, and we'll make a game plan for you personally. But I've worked with people with all kinds of different injuries, disabilities. You know, we can figure out something for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'd definitely able to work with you.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great question. I appreciate that. Kayla Coffee Studio says, one thing I struggled with while boxing wasn't learning the technique, but I struggled with the action of sparring an actual person. Do you have any tips, or how do you train the mindset of a fighter?
Oh, good
question.
The mindset of a fighter,
Ooh.
right? That's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier, right? So the biggest obstacle in learning boxing, if you want to compete, is going to be fear. Okay. Everybody has fear. People try to act tough and act like they're not scared. Everybody's scared, right? If you're not scared, you're not going to do very well. You're getting hurt in boxing, right? You need that fear, because that fear is basically a survival instinct that we're born with, right? So, you know, in order to, and I would say this, if you didn't have fear, I wouldn't teach you how to slip punches. I wouldn't teach you how to block punches, right? You would just take punches.
Eat 'em.
Right. Just eat them, right? We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, talking to somebody about fear, you know, my mentor as a trainer was a guy named Customato.
What a cool name.
Yeah. Customato was Mike Tyson's trainer, right?
Yeah.
And a guy that I heard his name when I was a little kid, and I was like, this is the guy that taught Mike Tyson how to fight.
Yeah.
I want to know more about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Legend.
You must be a badass,
Yeah.
right? So I've always been infatuated with him, and he was a big psychology guy. So he would talk about fear being like fire, right? So fire, you know, if you let it get out of control, it can burn your house down, right? But if you contain a fire, it can cook your food, it can keep your house warm, right? And that's what fear is, right? So if you let fear run wild like that fire, it's going to burn you up. But if you're able to contain that fear, it'll make you fight better than you ever could imagine, right? If you're able to, I always say, get your butterflies in alignment. You're going to have those butterflies, right?
Gems.
Yeah.
I hope you guys heard that. Get your butterflies in alignment. I love that.
But, you know, it's like, we're going back to Solomon, right? So
Yeah.
Solomon thrives under pressure. Like this guy just naturally, I don't know what it is about the guy. Like, you know, when he spars, he doesn't look nearly as good as when he fights. And most people are the opposite.
Yeah.
Most people look great sparring because there's not too much pressure. But now you put a crowd of people in front of them, now they get nervous, right?
Different story.
Like if we wouldn't do a room, just me and you, we had a little scuffle. Wouldn't be that big of a deal. We'd shake hands, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But now you get people around watching.
Yeah.
Now our egos are talking to us, right?
Yeah.
Now it becomes different. Now we're more nervous.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in fights, right? So the mindset of a fighter, you know, first off, is built through training. So in order to have confidence, you have to know that you put the work in. You didn't skip any steps. You know what I mean? If you know that you were supposed to get up and run at 6 a.m., but you skip that, deep down you know you're not what you're saying you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but if you're able to get up and do those things, now you get a little bit more confidence because you know what? I checked all those boxes in training camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No stone left
And then some people
unturned.
just naturally are fighters. Like some people just naturally have that strong will.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean other people can't be good at it, but it has to be developed like anything else. Some people are kind of born with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that. And thank you for the question, Kayla Coffee. We
thank you.
appreciate that. Yeah, that was a great question. And I think a big thing, you know, hopefully the audience can take away with them too, because I talk about it a lot on this show, is the fear of failing live. Listen, I know I'm not the best speaker in the world. I know I'm not the best interviewer in the world. I know I have so much to learn in this space, but I'm literally failing live with other people watching me and criticisms and all these things, which is totally fine. I want people to understand that if you're put into a situation where there's fear involved, as he was saying, utilizing that as fuel. I get butterflies every time before I do a show. And I know that I'm doing something right because that means I'm pushing my own boundaries. I'm pushing my mental limits. And I sit down with new people all the time, and it's the same feeling, even when it's solo with you guys. Because there's a sense of responsibility for me trying to bring you guys something important. I don't want the show to be about nothing. And so having somebody like you on, asking the right questions in order to make you feel heard and seen and understood. And it makes me feel so good when somebody gets off of this podcast and feels great about it. But all that compiles in the beginning of these episodes with fear. Yeah. And there's so much to overcome when it comes to boxing. And I think it's just such a good lifelong lesson that it's unlike anything else, because there is getting punched in the face is a scary thing. Yeah. And 99% of people will go out throughout their whole lives with never throwing the punch and never getting hit. Yep. So, yeah.
No, that's a good point too. You know, I'm a strong advocate of putting yourself in situations that make you nervous, you know, in life, no matter what it is, you know, being uncomfortable. Because like anything else, you know, it's a skill, you know, you get better at it. You never stop being nervous as a boxer, right? But you get comfortable dealing with it. Right? Yeah. You're still dealing with the same nerves you had your first time ever going out there, right? And in life, it's important because, you know, a lot of people go through life without taking those risks that they want to take, you know, just because they did have that fear, right? And if you put yourself in that position where you're nervous, you're more willing to take those risks that you thought you should have taken. You don't look back on life and say, you know what, I should have gone for it when I had the chance. You know, I was just scared or whatever. Yeah. No, go for it. Yeah. If you fail, so what? You know? Yes. So I'm all about that, man. You know, fear it's my friend. You know? If I didn't have it, I wouldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Well said. I always say that, you know, in order to, I hate the word fail, and I bring this up on a lot of shows because it's a common thread between business owners, artists, and musicians. You cannot fail if you're not trying anything new. And if those failures are in your head as failures, then it's going to be tough, right? But you got to seek those lessons, is what I like to consider them. Seek those lessons and understand that every single failure, there's an opportunity to better yourself. Right. So as you know, maybe I'm sitting here talking to you guys and I'm slurring up on my words. Well, I'm doing my research because I'm listening to other podcasters that are more eloquently spoken and they can string together beautiful questions and whatever it is. But that's a part of that process. And I watch these things back as a very self-critical individual, right? Yeah. And it's just all too common with anybody in the world to not step into something because they're scared, when they should step into it because the lessons that they'll learn, whether it's the massive success that they want it to be or the polar opposite, they need to realize that there is something to be had there, no matter what, right? Yep. Yeah.
Another quote from Customato, boxing trainer, who was more than a trainer. He was more of just a master of psychology, really. Yeah. But his quote was, "Fear is the friend of extraordinary people." Ooh. You know what I mean? It's so true. Like, the people that you see doing these amazing things, they were able to have some sort of an understanding or relationship with fear that other people don't.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for that. You know what? Customato, we see you out there. Let's see. Let's jump into the comments real quick. Dylan Harris, my brother, we see you out there. Getting over stage fright.
That's my son's name.
Oh, is that Dylan, right? Yeah, shout out. Shout out to the Dylans. Dylan says, getting over stage fright is really tough. Still working on conquering it myself.
For me, stage fright's harder than boxing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting up, talking in front of people.
Yeah.
I actually did a career day at City High School, right? And so they wanted to, talk to me about whatever. And I thought I was going to be like in front of a small group. It was like a school assembly, right? Yeah. I had to get up there and talk. And it was like, for me, that was scarier than any fight I've ever been in my life. You know what I mean? But I managed to do it, but stage fright's a lot.
Yeah, to talk through stage fright, you're like cracking.
Right.
And like
in front of high school kids too, you know?
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for the comment, Dylan. We appreciate you. And we all go through the same thing, brother. We're here for you if you need somebody, just tap in. Kayla Coffee Studio says failures equal college classes for the entrepreneur. Oof. Yes. So the more failure you get, the more classes you go to, the more lessons you learn, the more apt you are to graduate. Thank you for that comment, Kayla Coffee. Appreciate you. Magic Wood, really digging the gym aesthetic. Yeah, we're here inside of T-Town. If you're just joining us, we're here inside of T-Town Boxing right now with Jake Wilson. And he's the owner of T-Town here. And yeah, we're just talking everything fighting, everything life. And we appreciate everybody jumping into the chat. So yeah, I want to dive into some other things, man, because I feel like we definitely dropped some gems there. I mean, we could go days and days about talking about how, we overcome things and there's a lot of lessons to be learned in life. But I feel as though, as I look at T-Town Boxing now and what you've got going, I feel like there's goals and visions and dreams and aspirations, and I kind of want you to break that down for me. What is the future of T-Town Boxing looking like?
Yeah. Well, we got a lot going on, man. So obviously, the competition side, we have a lot of success. Solomon just won last weekend. We got 2 ladies fighting, not this weekend, but the following weekend down in San Diego. Enos, who's a national champion, and Janine, who's making her amateur debut. So we're all really excited about that.
Yeah.
And we have this really cool, women's boxing culture that's brewing in here. Mm-hmm. And it's been amazing to see, man. So that's been a blast to be a part of that, and kind of just help them kind of find their way in the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
As far as the future of T-Town Boxing, it's like, I don't really know right now, man. I'm kind of enjoying the ride. We had a really cool thing happen. We were gifted basically a full gym, full treadmills, ellipticals, weight equipment, just all this stuff that we didn't have before, which I have in storage right now. So, it has me kind of pondering possibly getting a bigger location.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure about that because I do love this location. And as you know, I'm starting a smoothie shop in this building.
Yes,
right? So
bro, can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And the idea of being in the same place with the boxing gym and a smoothie, having 2 businesses in the same building,
yes,
that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
So, as far as the future, definitely have a lot of plans as far as where I want to go, just from a business standpoint, but a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like, what I mean? Because I like kind of making decisions on the fly and just kind of seeing where the universe takes me sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like having a plan, but sometimes the plan goes out the window, just like in a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
until
just
you get in the face.
You get in the face, right? Yeah, exactly. and just kind of making those decisions on the fly is fun. You know? So we'll see.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to what you've got coming, which is the smoothie shop, and that's going to be in the same vicinity here.
Yeah. It's actually just right down the hallway, man.
Oh, yes.
So we have Let's Sweat, and then we have Friday Pilates. 2 extremely popular gyms, right? Right in between those 2 gyms is the space that opened up. It's going to be a walk-up smoothie shop. So we're going to put it like a sliding window out front, and we'll have seating outdoors. Yeah. And we're going to have a smoothie shop going right there. Healthy options, protein, collagen, whatever. And so we'll have 3 gyms in one building with a healthy option right here in the location.
Awesome, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. And speaking of this location, we could drop all these names of the places that are here, but where are we?
So we are at 439 North 6th Avenue. This is the warehouse. This is actually the art district. This used to be the Firestone Warehouse. So this is a historic building.
Wow.
Used to be a tire building back in the early 1900s. There's some cool pictures of it, actually.
Cool.
There's a lot of cool history here, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're right close to downtown, just outside of downtown in the art district, which is a really thriving area of Tucson right now. We got Corbett's with the pickleball, live concerts, stuff like that. We got some of the best pizza in the state right down the street. We got Ches Peachy next door, really popular kind of baked goods shop, I guess you'd say.
Nice.
A lot of cool stuff going on right here, man.
Yeah.
It's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, this is such a prime location.
Yeah.
If you guys are in the Tucson area or you plan to travel here, come down here. Yeah. Come check it out. I mean, the whole everything about the aesthetic of downtown Tucson, I think, is very unique, very special. And if you want to get a little session in, come see Jake. And yeah, let's go ahead and see what we got going on.
There it is, 439 North 6th Avenue. We're number 139.
Number 139.
That's so if T-Town Boxing.
Yes, sir. Very nice. And as you can see in the background here, What class is happening right now?
That's kickboxing right there with Coach Tyson.
Cool.
Amazing coach. We're lucky to have him, man. He's like probably one of the best kickboxing coaches in the state.
Nice.
So we got a great kickboxing program as well. Mixed martial arts, all that stuff, man.
Nice. Yeah. So let's run down the list of what you offer to the people right now.
Yeah. So we got obviously a lot of boxing going on. Classes morning and night every day. Personal training for boxing all day, every day. We got kickboxing with Coach Tyson. We got MMA. We have yoga with Rachel. We have a recovery class with Issa. Janine's teaching a boxing class on Saturday at 11 a.m. It's really good. Yeah, me and Frank doing our thing pretty much every day, man. It's like, boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, yoga, recovery.
Nice. It's a full wellness center.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be able to skip next door and grab a fresh smoothie.
That's right. Oh, we also have HIIT classes going. We got morning strength and conditioning with me, which is mainly a sport-specific strength and conditioning program.
Yes.
A lot of, light resistance, sport-specific movements to combat sports.
Awesome, man.
So that's a fun one too.
Dude, yeah, killing it. Every single thing that you could possibly need for all your physical and recovery needs here. Before we go on, we're going to go ahead and shout out our sponsors real quick. Yeah, we are super proud to be representing this company. They are doing God's work here in Tucson, Arizona. One car repair can create a powerful ripple effect. For a low-income family struggling with housing, a reliable vehicle means that they can hold on to their jobs, access childcare, and avoid spiraling into homelessness. Cars for Tucson understands this. They exist to provide affordable, sometimes free critical car repairs to ensure these families stay connected to their livelihoods and their homes. The goal is to give vehicles away as well. Like I said, they're doing God's work out here. Be a part of the positive ripple effect. Your donation helps prevent homelessness, one car or one repair at a time. Visit carsfortucson.org. Again, that's carsfortucson.org. And man, those guys are really doing something special. So people that are financially stricken by any type of crisis in their life or whatever, something happens, they're offering either discounted or free car repairs for people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
to get them back on the road.
That
and
is
then
really
if people
cool.
don't have cars to get themselves to work, they're offering free cars to people.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm really
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
for real.
I mean, how many people get in that situation where, the car breaks down, they don't have extra money at the time to fix it. You know what I mean? So that is really cool.
Yeah.
Love hearing it.
Yeah, that's it. So huge shout out to carsfortucson.org. We appreciate you. And that's actually Ari. So a part of our dream team that we're putting together right now of all the business owners. Ari, he owns the mechanic shop and he's also the owner of Cars for Tucson.
Nice,
So
man.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on to the show again. And I want to ask, before we go, if there's anything else that you'd like to talk about or something you'd like to leave with the people before we sign off.
Yeah, man, just, follow your dreams. That's the biggest thing for me is like, I've been through a lot the last few months and just kind of have a lot of time to contemplate life. And it's so important to make the most out of your time here. Whether helping people out, that's a big one, man. Cause that's just going to make you a better person, but at the same time, whatever, your dreams were when you were a kid, just go after them. Don't be scared. It's like, if you fail, that's just an opportunity to learn. That's all it is, So I always encourage people to go after whatever they want in life and just give it the best effort. And don't worry about failure. If you fail, pick yourself back up and do it again.
Well said. Thank you for that. Absolutely. And you're living proof of that, my friend. And I hope that everybody else that's out there that's listening to the show, if you're catching this on a later date, just know that taking chances is always worthwhile, no matter what. Go try something, and there's no bad outcomes. You're going to learn something along the way. So this whole thing that we're putting together is just a cultivation of a bunch of failures or lessons from everything that I've done in my lifetime. And I'm very proud to be sitting here and representing T-Town Boxing and be a part of this community and culture and everything that you're doing, man. So thank you.
Appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks so much,
All
brother.
right. And thank you, everybody that tuned in. We love you guys.
Love you
People
guys.
helping people. And yeah, we'll catch y'all in the next one.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.